Sierra College Station. So here's Jill. She'll tell you all about community education and the opportunities for us as artists.
Thanks so much for having me. Is my back turned if I go this way?
Yeah, I can move the camera a little bit.
Okay, or I can maybe move this way.
That'll work.
Okay.
That'll work pretty well, yeah.
Hello to the people on Zoom. Again, thank you so much. Linda reached out a few months ago and asked me to come talk about the community education program at Sierra College. So I had some PowerPoint slides. Doesn't look like that's going to work on this computer, so I'm going to wing it. It's going to be very informal. I'll really just open it up to questions afterwards. I'll share a little bit, and then I'll send the PowerPoint to Linda if anybody's interested. So I'll start just by introducing myself. My name is Jill Acorn, and I'm an associate dean at Sierra College. And so one of my responsibilities is the community Sierra for 9 years now, and I first was hired to be the community education program manager. And I've never lost that job. They've added more to my plate, and I've grown a little bit, but I've been the community ed manager for 9 years now, and it's a terrific program. It's really fun. A fun part of my job. Some of the other duties that I have are more traditional dean types of things. I'm the dean that oversees our Roseville Center, which is where we have a lot of our community ed classes. So if you're familiar with downtown Roseville on Vernon Street, we have some leased space for the college there. We're on the second and third floors. It's a beautiful building. We moved in about 5 years ago. So I'm the site administrator for that as well. And we have other programs in that building. I also oversee our public safety programs. So our fire academy and our police academy and health science EMT program. So my world is very diverse. I get to come talk to artists like you. And then I also work with police and fire and EMTs and all those folks as well. Sierra College, if you're not familiar, our main campus is in Rockland, just not too far down the street, where I just was at a meeting and ran over here, so it's nice and close. And we also have, so we have that as our main largest campus is in Rockland. We also have a smaller campus up at the Grass Valley area in Nevada County, and we offer community ed classes there as well. We're still coming back post-COVID after a lot of Zooming, but we're trying to get classes back at all of our campuses. And then we have a really small campus up in Truckee, which is pretty much covered in snow right now. We're not running a whole lot there. Those poor folks have been closed for a couple of weeks. It's been crazy, but it's a really great little spot up there as well. So those are our four, and then the Roseville Center is considered a center. It's a smaller space that we have. So let me talk a little bit about the community ed program. Community education, or community services as it's called at some colleges, is essentially an optional program that a community college in California can offer. And really the purpose of it is to serve its community. It's to serve our folks that don't want access to traditional education. You're not worried about a degree or certificate. You're not in need of any of that, but you want to come for lifelong learning. So we really focus on open access to personal enrichment classes. I like to say all the fun stuff, right? And then we do a little bit of professional development as well. I have a handful of professional development courses, small things like notary, renewing your notary license. We have a pharmacy technician training program. We used to have a little bit more, but for the most part, most of community education these days is really personal enrichment. I have on the slides that I shared, we have all kinds of different classes. I did bring a catalog if you're not familiar. If you live locally, you're probably getting it. I mailed to quite a few. I get to know that's the one thing. Even during the during COVID and the shutdowns and everything else, we tried to maintain access as much as we could, even if it was just on Zoom. And this school guide is getting more and more expensive, I'll tell you that. But it's still the #1 way that we get the word out. So I brought some here. You're welcome to take one and kind of see what our offerings are. We really cover everything from computer basics. We have Excel classes. We have children's classes to some degree. We do that more in the summertime. We do some sports camps with our athletic department. We have so we have a handful of kids classes, but we have a lot of personal enrichment and cooking. Cooking these days is still on Zoom, but I have a wonderful cooking instructor. We've got lots of creative arts. Some of you may know some of the instructors that teach for us. We've got photography and music. Just added a guitar class this semester. So the key for us is, and the beauty of community education, unlike our credit courses, anyone with a passion and skill, a hobby, a seasoned artist like maybe some of you, if you have an interest and you have a passion, I am okay if you don't have any teaching experience. We're willing to let you give it a shot. Now, it's great if you come in and say, oh, I've taught this class in a few other places, that's always terrific. But we're a great place to give it a shot. Our classes are very short. And one of the ways that we distinguish ourselves from the credit-bearing classes is that they're short. They may be just a one-day workshop, right? It could be 9 to 3 if it's a longer workshop. It could be 2 hours. Sometimes they meet in the evenings after work. We do a lot of 6 to 8 p.m. after work. Some folks like to do a class that's just one class, a couple of hours, and some like to teach a multi-session class. So we might have, Tuesday nights for 6 weeks, and it meets from 6 to 9 or something like that. Kind of depends on the discipline. A lot of our art workshops are single courses in one day, but other things like some of the photography, certainly our language classes, Spanish and Italian, they like to meet over the course of 6 weeks, just because you can't really get a whole lot done with language in a 2-hour segment. So we're really flexible, and that's another fun thing about community education as opposed to our credit-bearing classes. We can experiment. We oftentimes pilot things for the college through our program because I don't have to go through a formal curriculum process with accreditation. It doesn't have to go to the chancellor's office at the state for approval. It just comes to me and my 2 program assistants. I have 2 wonderful women that work in the office with me, Julie and Robin, and honestly, because I wear other hats, they really do the day-to-day. They man the office in terms of registration and all of that. And the 3 of us really look at proposals coming in, and we say, hey, we think our students would really like this type of class, let's give this person a shot. Looks like they have some experience, whether it's a hobby or a profession, and we'll run it and we'll see how it goes. And sometimes the instructor will go, yeah, I don't enjoy that. I'm not going to come back. And some will say, I love this. I want to do more classes and I want to keep it going, which is terrific. Sometimes the students, the community vote with their interest by signing up or not signing up. And that kind of brings me to another point about community education. By law, by our ed code, for the state, community ed programs must be fee-based and self-funded. So we're not, as you know, community colleges run on taxpayer dollars, right? So I certainly don't mail these very pricey little catalogs out on taxpayer dollars. We want to make it very clear to everyone that by law, we are an entirely self-funded program. So all of the revenue that comes in from our registrations from the classes pays the instructor. It pays my staff's salary, it pays some of my salary, and it help support the space that we're in for facilities. We're in a leased space with the college. We pay a percentage of that space, and that gives us access to all the classrooms. But we're able to use classrooms at all of our campuses. So in particular, our Rockland campus for art has 2 art rooms, and they're the messy, fun rooms that you can do, painting and sculpture. I do a little bit of art classes in our Roseville Center. We put paper over the tables, and it has a sink, and I do some cooking in there every once in a while too. But we love our art rooms at the Rockland campus. They really are designed for it, and they have all the setup that you would have to teach in an art class. So we're self-funded. So revenue generation is an important part of our program. It's difficult. We're really not a big program, so we want to look at the market and look at what types of classes are popular and make sure that we price them the right the right point so that we make a little money, but that we put it back into the program, but we also compensate the instructor fairly, and that we don't outprice ourselves for the community. We want people to feel like these are affordable. We're basically a nonprofit within the college. That's kind of how we function. So that's in a nutshell about us. I was really excited when Linda invited me because I would say one of our number one, if not the number one category in terms of most popular classes are the art classes. And for COVID, the last couple of years, the college was largely online and shut down. And that was one area that was really hard to convert online, right? It was, some people were doing some drawing classes, and our piano teacher is maintained staying online, but that assumes someone has a keyboard or a piano at home, but it works. She loves it. They do it. It's great. But most of my art instructors said, yeah, that's not going to work. We're not going to be able to do that. So we're excited that we're back. We've been back since fall, really in a bigger way. And in person, our classes have been super popular. They really, they're limited in space. We understand that an art class, you can't necessarily put 50 people in a room, right? It's going to be a smaller group. And depending on that, I have some knitting and crochet. She caps it around 8 or 10 because it's such an intricate thing to teach that she really wants to be able to work around the room. I have painting instructors, watercolor we've run for years with a woman named Jill Acorn, and she used to be local. She's not now. I think, Linda, you're familiar with her.
She was our juror for our church show last month.
Oh, she was.
And guest
Wonderful.
speaker. And guest speaker.
Okay, yeah. So Dale and I go way back since my whole 9 years with her, and she immediately was the first person in my office introducing herself and basically said, I've been here for longer than you've probably been born. And, we laughed about that. She's funny. We're good. She's been great. Even when she moved over to the coast, she still comes back a couple of times a year and teaches for us. But she'll teach about 25 for watercolor. And that's probably the max for that, but she can handle that load. So just our max size depends a lot on the instructor and what they feel comfortable with in terms of teaching and what feels right in terms of their, being able to cover that. Obviously, if it's just a lecture class, we can fill a whole classroom up and but doing something hands-on, it's a little more challenging. And then the other thing I can tell you that a lot of times I get questions for, and then I'll open it up to questions. We also have a program called the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, OLLI, if anyone's familiar with the OLLI program. The OLLI program is a nationwide program, and we are lucky we're one of 4 community colleges in the nation to have OLLI. Most of them are housed with the 4-year universities all across the nation. And they're really kind of what we call an elder college. Technically, it's 50 plus, but it tends to skew even a bit older in terms of it's a membership-based program. So I oversee that program too, but that has, OLLI has their own program manager, Sherry Smith, and she does another catalog as well. And so one of the things that's a little bit interesting is a lot of folks will ask me, well, what's the difference between community education and the OLLI program? Because they're both lifelong learning programs. And at a lot of colleges, they might be one and the same. And because we've had both for years and years and years, Sherry and I just worked really closely to carve out sort of a distinction between the two. So for community ed, we try to be the hands-on learners. We're much more the arts and crafts, like I said, computers and photography and cooking and dance classes. I forgot to mention we have dance classes at the Roseville Center. We have line dancing. We're bringing swing back this summer. And we've got adult ballet and tap that just started last fall. So we try to be the hands-on learning in terms of personal enrichment, and we do a little professional development as well, as I mentioned. And then OLLI really tries to be that elder college, the lecture courses, history, politics, that we both do some creative writing and that kind of thing, but hers is definitely geared more of a college type of experience. And some of the college instructors will teach for us as well. So she does a lot of lecture series types of courses. They do a bit of travel and field trips kind of related to academics. So they're much more, that's kind of how we've created a niche. And we find that way we have a lot of students that take part in both. So that we have, all the OLLI members, and then we also have folks that want to come and take the art and the other fun classes that we offer. So that's community ed in a nutshell. What can I tell you? What questions do you have?
I took my first class this fall.
Did you
I just
really?
moved here from Portland. And
Oh,
I was
fantastic.
in the Auburn campus. I took a computer one just to.
Oh, so up in Auburn. So you must have taken the Placer School for Adults class.
Oh, maybe that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, wonderful. A little side note, one of the other hats that I wear is I serve on our adult education consortium. So I work really closely with Placer School for Adults and Maysville School for Adults. And they also have some enrichment classes. I know they have some great artists up there teaching as well. I know all of those folks really well.
So
Yeah, I've taken classes up there as well.
Are you all in Auburn? I live in Auburn too.
I live in Rockland, but I go to Auburn.
Oh, you do?
That's
Okay.
Camp Culberson and, yeah, he has a drawing class and also a workshop.
Okay.
And then there's a watercolor instructor up there too,
Wonderful.
on Hamilton.
Yeah, but yeah, we have, Gail is kind of our main watercolor instructor. She has a real variety. She does some acrylic as well. So if you're ever interested in branching out, check us out as well, because we do have her classes at the Rockland campus. Occasionally we run them at the Roseville Center as well. But and I have my drawing instructor is just coming back this summer, and he does great. Sheldon Carpenter, and he's also a photographer. And he does a great art drawing series as well. So if anybody's interested in branching out, I love PSA. Don't worry. But we have some similar. Yeah. Other questions?
So the art classroom, they're on the Sierra College campus.
Yeah. So for the art specific class, some of them take place at the Roseville Center. Drawing, we have at our Roseville Center because it doesn't need a messy classroom, that kind of thing. The watercolor, we had a fun class just this last month called Pour Paint. And Chris Mark, I don't know if anybody knows Chris, she was new for us, but she's super fun and was really happy to meet her. And it was kind of hard to describe, but it sounds like it's a lot of pour paint and messy types of things. They did rocks and canvases and all kinds of things. But we've got, so depending on the class, when we have glass, we haven't had the mosaic in a long time. If you know anybody interested in mosaic, Jennifer, we used to have an instructor named Jennifer, and I believe she moved over to towards the Bay Area or Santa Cruz, which they have amazing art classes out there. So many artists live out that direction. But yeah, so we'd love to bring back mosaic. I'd also love, if you're interested in a particular type of class, doesn't have to be art, but if you're interested in a particular type of class, let me know. Send us an email. I'll leave these behind. It has our contact information in there. We're always wondering, what the community would love to see more of. And so, feel free to make suggestions, and that helps me then go out and try to find people that might be qualified to teach those courses. Or if you have a good idea, somebody who would be great as a teacher, send them my way. We're always looking for that. And that's one thing I didn't cover, and it's in the slides that I'll send you. But if you go to our website, and it's listed here, we have a Teach for Us button on the website. If you go to the menu and you search that, there's a Teach for Us button. You can click on that, and that'll bring a link up to an online course proposal and give you a little more information. So I really encourage you to share that with folks that you think might be interested in teaching. But that's a great place. We're coming up on our fall planning right now. And so I think I have the deadline April 1st, but I'll fudge that a little bit. If something comes in late and it's still in April, that still gives me time to get it on the calendar for our fall catalog. Our fall catalog goes out in early August, and we start classes in September after Labor Day. This one just goes out in January. We do it 3 times a year. We do a catalog in January for the spring semester, which pretty much starts the end of January and runs through May. You'll see a catalog, a smaller one that comes out early May, because we have June, July, August. We have a handful of classes. Like I said, we also try to offer some kids programming. And then we'll do the fall one, which I'm working on right now for spring. So it keeps me busy, that is for sure. But so again, we only function for the community. That's why we exist. So if you have any fantastic instructors, or you just have ideas about what you'd like to see, that really helps me when we hear from our community members. And when you take a class, we always ask to complete a survey at the end for suggestions on what else, what else we could offer. Matter of fact, somebody just recently said they're looking for fly fishing, and my fly fishing instructor retired several years ago, and I haven't found anybody. So if you know a fly fisher person who wants to teach, send them my way. But that's really how we function. It's so much word of mouth. It's so much of, oh gosh, I have this, I know this person who's really talented. Genealogy, someone, it's just a passion of theirs. It's not a profession. And that's what I think is really important to know about community ed, is that we're just regular people, that have a passion for something, that they want to share it. And so the only things that require a more of a credential would be things like, if you're renewing your notary and we need to send a notary, our pharmacy technician program. Our computer instructors have some certifications on computers to make sure that, of course, they know how. A lot of, matter of fact, our computer instructor is also a professor and instructor at Sarah College, because a lot of times those folks will come teach for me on the side, which is great. I love the talent that I have there. But yeah, we have a real variety, and said just usually really fun. It's the fun stuff, right? There's no homework. You're just going to really learn and just keep that learning going forever, that lifelong learning. So that's what we're all about. The other thing with the community ed classes is our registration is online, because we're fee-based. It's just like shopping on Amazon. You create an account and then you just put them in your cart and you check out that way. If you need help, you can get your office to call. Like I said, I've got 2 assistants, and they'll call you back if you get a voicemail, because we are a small office. But it's very easy. There's no application process. A lot of times people think, oh, Sierra College, take a class there. I have to do that big application, which by the way is terrible. It's a statewide application. You don't have to do any of that for this. You can just register for a course and pay for it and then show up for class. So gardening is another area that we have. We have some fun classes. I've been working a vegetable gardening class with a woman who's from UC Davis that teaches, and she does growing citrus in the foothills, which I think I need to take, because my citrus trees in Auburn are looking really sad with all this weather lately. So yeah, just again, a real variety. Yeah, I really appreciate you being let me come and share a little bit about our program. Anything else I can let you know? Okay. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to leave you some catalogs. You can peruse those. We already have one for free. Pass along to a friend. But seriously, if you or anyone you know are interested in teaching, or you have some ideas about classes that you'd like to see, please feel free to send them. Feel free to email us directly, the community ed email. I'll leave a few business cards for myself as well behind, and feel free to reach out to me directly. And thanks for letting me come today. I appreciate it.